Adversity is a terrible thing to waste. You can't control what's thrown at you, but you can control how you react to it. Patrick Bet David say that my book is that good. Like, dude, that feels really good. No, it's not.
How you doing? Grab seats, thank you. Grab seats. Holy moly, this place is packed. Guys, storm, hurricane, you ain't making no excuses. You found a way to get here. Make some noise for yourself. But Will, just to kind of give you a little context of the audience here, these are business owners, 3,000 business owners or their teammates from 50 plus countries. Some are operators, some are founders, some are investors, but for the most part, they're from nearly 150 industries that they're here, so a lot of different types of business we're talking about. So that's the optics on who we're talking to. But Will, for some people that don't know, what turned me on about you is Josh Abramson, who's one of our clients that we consult for. He comes out and he tells me about your book. I read the book. I can't put the book down. I tell everybody to read this book because it's by far the best book I've ever read on creating culture, customer service, customer experience. A book like that does not exist. Then I tell the valuetainment audience to read it. Then I did a video that on TikTok, it's a little bit crazy. And then I'm talking to Adrian from Penguin Portfolio. And I said, Adrian, I gotta tell you, man, I just read this book and we have him speaking at the event. And Adrian is the CEO of Portfolio Penguin for Business Book, which is a top name out there for business books. And Adrian says, which book are you talking about? I said, Will Guidara, Unreasonable Hospitality. He says, we published that book. We love that book. I said, dude, everyone's got to read it. Sometimes you read a book and you are going through a journey with the writer. It's what I felt like when I was reading your book. And it gave me three feelings when I was reading it. One, I fell in love with the character and the characters in your life. One being your father, your mom, and you. You know, how you're kind of going through that entire journey. And I just talked about this briefly an hour and a half ago, and I said, I don't know why, but the people that, you know, compete at the highest level and make it to the highest level, meaning number one in their space, what they do, they typically have experienced unconditional love from one or two people in their lives. You and your dad, it's very obvious there's a great relationship, and your mom. And then the second one is they experience unbelievable pain from someone they love. With your mom, what she went through, the wheelchair, paraplegic, can't get up to hug you, but is there. You promise you're gonna get a college degree. You go to Cornell, she sees the graduation, she dies the next day after graduation. You're writing this, I'm like, oh my God, like my feeling, I'm like feeling for you going through it, right? So you got that unconditional love. You got that kind of a pain that's just a permanent pain that stays with you, that you can, you know, kind of relive it. And as much as you don't want to relive it, you can go there. And then sometimes there's also these people that go to the highest level, they also ended up choosing the right enemy. An enemy isn't necessarily always a human being. It could be something you're dealing with yourself. It could be a challenge. It could be something you want to overcome, where it gets you to that level. But do you feel the unconditional love you got from your dad, the unbelievable pain you experienced with your mom, where you kept your promise to her, and she went through the pain just to see her son keep the promise, and then later on choosing the enemy kind of got you to go through the pain by yourself, where in many cases you have so many different nights where like, yeah, I'm just gonna throw in the towel, what's the big deal about being number one? You think that was a driver and that helped you out?
Oh my God. I mean, all three. My dad, guys, he's my best friend. He's my dad. He's my mentor. My dad has been, like, really my biggest inspiration my entire life. Not just watching him as a leader, but to give context, if you don't know what he was saying, when I was 4, my mom was diagnosed with brain cancer. She got surgery, radiation treatment, wasn't very refined. By the time I was like 7, 8, she was a quadriplegic. My dad, the way that he worked in restaurants 12, 14 hours, was raising a kid basically alone, and was a caretaker to a quadriplegic. And he did all of those 3 things at such an unbelievably high level and never once felt bad for himself. In fact, it was his the joy that I could tell he was getting from being able to take care of the two of us, that showed me firsthand how good it feels to take care of others. And then with my mom, and we were a team, right? I'm an only child, so I was cooking for my mom. I was helping to bathe my mom when I was like 12, 13 years old. And because my dad never felt bad for himself, I never felt bad for myself. And in fact, to the contrary, I felt lucky that I was the only person in my entire friend group that got to love his mother in that way. And that's how I knew that I wanted to spend my life loving other people in whatever way, shape, or form. My dad always says adversity is a terrible thing to waste. You can't control what's thrown at you, but you can control how you react to it, how you use it to fuel your growth. My enemy, my dad was an amazing operator. Amazing restaurant guy. He ran some of the great restaurants in America, but he was always an employee. And he was just getting ready to go off and start his own company when my mom got sick. And so he couldn't, like, her medical bills were so crazy that he had to stay with the company with the health insurance. And so my enemy, I'm putting that word in quotes, was me saying, there is no frickin' way I am not going to fulfill the dream my dad had for himself. I'm gonna fulfill it on our collective behalf.
Is there anything where, you know, the movie Billy Bean, I don't know if you've seen the Billy Bean, Moneyball, right? Not Billy Bean, Moneyball, and you're watching, I relate to this guy, the way Brad Pitt plays the movie, where he's kind of like, comes to the game, he's like, oh, they're making a comeback, turn around, you should go back to the game, Dad, don't worry, they're winning, you're gonna be, and then boom, he leaves, like, nah, I can't watch the game, because the perfectionist, or even Jerry West would say, I can't watch the game because he sees the mistakes people make. As an operator, sure, you go to restaurants, like, we would have killed it. If I had this restaurant, if I had this, we would have done this, we would have done that. Do you get the itch now, even though you made it to the top, to say, I want to get back in the ring again?
So I want to say two things. First of all, we talk about how it feels when you become number one. Just think about how cool it is for me right now to hear Patrick Bet-David say that my book is that good. Like, dude, that feels really good.
No, it's not. Right.
And you, man, so I sold my company in 2019, right before COVID, not due to some prescient knowledge of the world's pending collapse. And then I had 2 kids, and I live up in the country, and life is like pretty great. And then you got in my head in Vegas. I'm serious. You really did get in my head. And I got back and I got my team together and I was like, guys, we have to build something again. And so, yeah, the answer is yes. You know, definitively. And when I get off work at 2 in the morning, I'm going to start calling you and your son.
I can't wait. I'll be the first person when you open it up, and we'll do a party at your restaurant when you do that.
Right on.
And that kind of matches the gift I'll give you here in a minute while we're going through it. But for your next restaurant with a nice pen, got you a Mont Blanc pen with your name etched in it. So when you do finance the next restaurant, do it with this pen as your
That's pretty sick, huh?